Hey y'all, so I'm driving, so forgive me for not looking into the camera. I'm gonna keep my eye on the road if that's alright. I'd like to arrive alive. I'm on my way to meet my bestie who has driven from Fayetteville, and I'm meeting her in Hendersonville. She's got some training for her job this week that unfortunately she can't come stay with me because the state of North Carolina are big old meanies, and they are making her stay at the place she's having this training instead of with me, but that's all right. She'll come back over the summer. I'm bored. I'm driving. One of the things that's on my mind today as I drive is my Papaw. And I don't know if some of y'all saw it. I'll link to it. But I did a podcast with Vanessa of Personal Pans. It dropped this week. And in that podcast, I talked about my time in the United Pentecostal Church. And I was thinking about that on my way up here because my bestie was there for it. She knew me before. She saw how much my time in that church changed me and the person I became, the person that church made me into, and what it did to me. Oh yay, check it out y'all, there is no backed up traffic at the I-26 and I-40 junction. It's a miracle. Yay, I'm gonna be early. I can look at an antique store. Anywho, so she saw what happened to me, and it broke her heart. She's told me about it. We've talked about it. I went from an anarchist, fun-loving, rebel, don't give a fuck kind of person to this uptight, hold on, changing lanes. Okay. To this uptight, no fun, you know, wet blanket kind of person. And one of the things I talked about on that podcast was what that did to my relationship with my Papaw. See, I'm circling back around. There's a point to all this. So, according to the UPC, my Papaw, who raised me in the absence of love and affection from the assholes formerly known as my parents, he protected me, he defended me, he took care of me, he gave me love and affection where they couldn't. And people in that church told me that he was lost, that he was going to go to hell. And that is a big part of how I got out of that church, because when he died, according to them, and was lost, it broke me. Y'all, it broke me. I had nightmares. I had spent years talking to the pastor of that church about my Papaw and about how much I wanted to see him come to the truth and whatnot. And this is a man that, you know, had his own relationship with that God and had his own, you know, he prayed and he read the Bible, and he, you know, he was a good, upstanding Baptist man. And when he died, in their words, lost, he knew all about it because we had talked a lot about it, and he knew how it had affected me. And about a week after we got back from his funeral, and I'm still in the throes of just abject grief and depression, I could barely function, he chose to preach a sermon on hell and about what it's like being in hell, and about how hot the flames are and how miserable it is, and how, you know, absolutely horrible it is for the people who are right this minute suffering right now. Knowing that I was sitting there, knowing that he told me that the man who meant the world to me was there. Who does that? Anywho, it took me a couple years, and I eventually got out of that shit. And here's the traffic back up. I knew it would happen. We fitting to stop, y'all. We're gonna be backed up for a bit. Look, it's the French Broad River. Yay. Y'all probably didn't see nothing but a window going by, did you? Do you have any idea? Do you really believe that about somebody that meant that much to you? And I don't know why that's suddenly on my mind right this minute. I don't know what being in the car has, I don't know, you know, PTSD shit comes up weird times. But do you know how many times when we would come up here to visit my mama and I would go to the cemetery, how many times that I wanted to just lay out flat on his grave or curl up in a ball and just scream and wail and cry, because I thought that he was suffering, that he was burning in flames, because they made me really believe that was real and that's where he was. Anyway, y'all, there's never been a sweeter man than my Papaw. There's never been a sweeter man. He would not let me say a bad word as a child about the German soldier in World War II that shot him. That man had his leg amputated when I was a child because they had left some shrapnel in the wound. Actually, it turned out, well, doesn't matter. They didn't get all the shrapnel out, or a sponge or something. I'm not actually sure of the precise exactness, but there was something left in the wound back at the time, and it got infected, and he spent several months in the hospital in the war, and then he got out and met my grandma, and they got married. And then his big thing, you know, mountain man, his big thing was fishing, and he'd be out wading in the creeks and rivers here doing his fishing. And anyway, when I was a little girl, it got infected again, and it went gangrene, and he had to have his leg amputated. And he never did take to the artificial leg. And so when I was in the first grade, I remember this very clearly, I was in the first grade when he had to have it amputated. So that would have been 1977, 78, something like that, somewhere around there. My daddy was mean to me one time, and he told my dad that if he ever seen him do that to me again, he would take his crutches and see how close he could come to beating him to death. The same man who wouldn't let me speak ill of the soldier that shot him. The Nazi that shot him. Because that man wasn't a Nazi. That man wasn't out trying to kill Jews. That man was just trying to survive. Because he'd been drafted. For all Papaw knew, you know? Because he always saw the best in people. But damn it, you didn't lay a hand on me. And they told me that man was suffering, and I was supposed to just live with that. So anyway, I decided, you know, fuck these people. Fuck this church. And above all, fuck that God. And I'm gonna tell y'all what, right now, this is what went through my head as I was driving that made me pull out the video, because this is what I really wanted to say. The thing that I thought at the time is that if a deity, any deity, I don't care who it is, I don't care if this is the only one, and what they have is the truth, and that is the truth, and I am condemning myself to hell. If that is the truth, and that deity would send a man like that, who loved him and spent his life doing nothing but good for people, never said a bad word about anybody ever, would send somebody like that to hell just because they didn't have the exact right words said over them when they were baptized, or never spoke in tongues. If that's all it takes to get you sent to hell, then fuck you. You're not worthy of worship. You're not worthy of respect. You're not worthy of any admiration. You are a petty, hateful, and if that means that legit, I'm thinking about this, legit, if my grandfather really is still suffering in hell, and I don't believe he is, because I feel like he's come to me and he's talked to me and whatnot, I feel like I've heard from him, and I feel like it's all bullshit. I don't believe there is a hell. But if there was, and that's how you got there, you know what? Grease up that stripper pole, Nas X. Lil Nas X. Grease it right up, and I'm going to write it down right behind you. Because I don't want to be in heaven with anything like that. You ain't, it's not worth respect. It's not worth, certainly not worth worship. That's what I'm thinking about. I bet this will go over well. But yeah. And something Central Plain. Mama. Lane. Without love. It's. Where would you be now? Now, now, now. Without love. Without love. Because that ain't love. That ain't love. I know my karaoke sucks, but that ain't love. That ain't love. That's not a deity that loves. And it's not a deity that's worth 2 cents, much less respect. So, there you have it. That's my rant for the day. I'm going to start doing more of these because, I don't know, I got some good feedback on that interview, and so I'm going to start doing more stuff like this, and I'm going to start talking to other people and about their experiences and stuff like that. And if you are out there and you have worked with deities, if you have trauma, and as obviously I do, and you have worked with, I don't know, maybe you've worked with your local land spirits, or maybe you've worked with your ancestors, or maybe you've worked with other deities, or astrology, or whatever. What's worked for you for dealing with your trauma? Talk to me. Reach out to me. Lisa@oldgodshealed.com. Shoot me an email and maybe we'll talk. We'll do a Zoom and we'll let the world know some things we can do to get through this shit. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Has the spirit of Prince helped you? The spirit of Freddie Mercury helps me. No lie. Bohemian Rhapsody can come on the radio and I feel like I'm in church, y'all. Freddie helps me. Who helps you? Tell me about it. And right now, I'm gonna go share some love with my bestie who has been with me since the age of 12 years old. And peace out. I'll probably upload this tonight. And oh, by the way, if you watched it this long and you're one of those Christian people who are just like, oh my God, clutching the pearls, don't bother. I'm just gonna delete it. Just don't even bother with the comment, because I'm just gonna delete it. I really don't care what you have to say. I really don't. I don't care. There is absolutely nothing you can say that I ain't heard, and especially after the story I've just told, I think you can understand why I could give a flying fuck. So, the rest of y'all have a great and beautiful, wonderful day from the heart of Southern Appalachia in Western North Carolina. And this is Lisa from Old God's Hill signing out. Bye-bye, y'all.